So I called my dad today to wish him a happy birthday. He just turned 79. I'm really glad he's still alive, but he's definitely a lot more mellower than he was. In fact, when I was growing up under his roof, he was very strict. He was a control freak, and he had a very scary temper. And I really didn't understand his temper, where it came from, because I was confused. Because one, for a week or two he'd be happy, and maybe even a month or two he'd be happy, everything would be fine, and then out of nowhere I would do something and he would just fly off the handle and just rage. And so I kind of got into this shell shock state, kind of like a gun shy dog. You can't use a gun shy dog anymore because they're scared of the gun. And I felt like I was scared of everything after my dad. And he was a businessman. He ran his own business. He was successful. Every time he sold his house, he doubled his money, because we came from Southern California. And then we got a place in Washington State. So we had a nice place. My parents are still together today. And my dad also, he's a perfectionist. He's not only a control freak, but he's a perfectionist. And over the last 20 years, he's restored some beautiful cars, European cars. And when I was growing up, he built two sailboats in our backyard, because he used to love sailing. So he's always been very active, and I'm very active. But I was highly sensitive. I was a highly sensitive boy. And so when he first spanked me, when I was 5 years, when he really spanked me, the time I remember, I was like 5. And I've talked about this before. I guess I couldn't really trust him after that. And I didn't know what I did. I felt like I was broken. I think I felt like he didn't love me, because he spanked me so hard. I was like, what the heck was that? It just came out of nowhere. As I got older, I realized that it's generational. And his father was an alcoholic with very scary temper as well. And my dad was scared of him. And I was scared of my dad. So it's generational. And now my dad is almost 80. He's kind of like an innocent puppy. And I was talking to him on the phone, and we have a great relationship now. And I guess what I'm saying is, after he spanked me, and all my teenage years growing up under him, I wanted to get him back. I wanted to get him back. I wanted to seek revenge, no matter what it took. And I gave him the silent treatment, because that's all I knew how to do, living under his roof. I withheld love. That was my only secret weapon, was withholding love. So I gave him a silent treatment from the time I was 16 to 18. And then when I was 18 and a half, I was tired of sleeping on floors, because he kicked me out right when I turned 18. I came back a half year later, because I was tired of couch surfing. And I asked if I can come back home. And he's like, no, we don't harbor bums here. And I got teared up, and I was trying not to cry in front of him, because I was trying to be a man. Inside I was thinking, how dare you? I'm doing stuff that you've never done. I'm experimenting with LSD. I'm seeing worlds you've never seen. I didn't say that to him, but that's what I was thinking as an 18-year-old. And he wouldn't let me live with him. And looking back, that's great, because I got to grow up on my own, and the school of hard knocks and odd jobs and several girlfriends and all this stuff I did on my own. And I'm glad that he kicked me out. But now it's to the point it doesn't even matter anymore. It just doesn't matter. I haven't wanted to seek revenge on him since, you know, we made amends when I was 25. Because all of that that revenge and the rage and the I'm gonna get him back and all that stuff just eats you alive. It ate me alive. You know, when I was giving him the silent treatment, it was hurting me just as much as him, but I wouldn't admit it. I was just being rebellious. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get him back. And it just, everything I did, you know, I'm 48 now, and looking back, all of the stuff that I did to get people back, to hurt them, to spite them, to, you know, silent treatment, revenge, you name it, all of that stuff came back to haunt me. It's karma. And looking back, I spent so much time in negativity. And so now when I talk to my dad, it's so laid back and relaxed. We don't have any reason to compete with each other or fight one another. It's just a pleasant time, you know? In fact, once I got off the call with him, I was like, wow, that was really just, you know, it was just, you know, it was a 10-minute call, and I was like, that was really, you know, relaxed. We didn't even really say that much, you know, how's the weather? You know, I was like, yeah, you know, there's some good brisket restaurants down here. And every time I get off the phone with my dad, I feel a little, I'm like, wow, there should have been more fireworks. Like, I really want some excitement with my dad. Like, you know, I picture that, you know, when I see my dad or talk to him on the phone, that we're gonna be close to tears, and we're gonna just have some wild laughter, and we're gonna just be father and son like never before, and we're gonna talk for hours about everything under the sun. And then it turns out to be a 10-minute call about the weather and a little bit of food talk, and that's it. But what am I gonna expect from my dad? He's almost 80, you know? And about 6 months ago, I called him because I was having a really hard time, and I was doing a lot of spiritual work, and it stirred up a lot of my past trauma. And I was like, I need to make amends with my dad again, and my sister, and my mom. So I got them all on the phone individually, and I was really emotional because I get worked up, you know, because I'm highly sensitive, and I get really worked up, and I have to talk to someone and, you know, get my point across. And I just started bawling on the phone with my dad because I was making amends for when I broke into a house when I was 14. That was the very first time that I did something really bad, and it kind of destroyed our family. It didn't really destroy my sister. I mean, she was doing her own thing, getting A's in school and thinking about college and boys, and she was kind of out of the picture. But it really hurt my dad and my mom, especially my dad, because like I said, he was a control freak. He has Asperger's just like I do. So he's highly sensitive. He's a perfectionist and a control freak, just like me. That's why we didn't get along, you know, when I lived with them. So I called, and I was bawling my eyes out, and I'm like, I'm so sorry that I hurt you, and that I gave you the silent treatment, and I'm sorry I broke into the house. And he's like, you don't have to do that. I forgave you a long time ago. And my mom too. And then my sister, all she said was, you know, I didn't even know what you were doing. I thought, you know, I just knew that you weren't talking to mom and dad, but I didn't know the extent of it. And I was like, wow. So the bottom line is, you need to make amends with yourself. You need to forgive yourself. Because when it comes all back, The only person you have to forgive is yourself. Now, you should make amends, especially if it's a fresh wound and you've hurt people recently. You should make amends. But, you know, I'm trying to make amends for stuff that I did 30 years ago, 34 years ago. I had to do it for me. I was crying for me. I was letting it go. I was finally letting it go. I forgave myself for breaking into the house 35 years later. I didn't even need to talk to my dad, but it was good that I did. Now we talk like we're two adults. I finally feel like a grown-up. I finally feel like a grown-up, and it doesn't even matter. All that stuff didn't even really matter. And of course, when you're going through it, it's gonna feel really, it's gonna stress you out. You're gonna be very emotional, especially in your 20s, you know, or even if you're 18, 19, 20. I was a nutcase back then. I was drinking, I was hurting myself, I was hurting other people. I was a nutcase. But 48 years old, you outgrow a lot of that stuff. The emotional roller coaster, the self-harm, the addictions. It all doesn't matter in the end. And I romanticized a lot of those things. Like, ooh, I'm so tough, I'm a drunk. I'm just like the poets that I look up to. Or, you know, I do LSD, I'm an artist. You know, I go to deep underworlds in my imagination. None of that stuff matters anymore. The only thing that matters now is the simple life, the American way, sitting on the porch, talking about very simple things. You know? That's what it boils down to, is good, old-fashioned relationships. Having some smiles and laughs, eating some good food. It's all about memories. And I hid behind making money for years, you know, because of my Asperger's. I laser focus on one thing. And I thought that if I got money, it would solve all my problems. That didn't work. I'm back to square one. What is there for us always? Other people, having laughter, having a good time. Very simple. Watching a fire. You know, I got this fire going right here. You know, Misha and I are gonna watch the sunset tonight on this little bench chair, and life is good. It's all about memories. I would rather have memories right now instead of money. Ideally both. You need money to make memories sometimes. But I've self-isolated for 30 years, rocking back and forth, stimming for 40 years. You can see all the other videos I've done about rocking back and forth. I stopped 2 months ago. Now, I want to be around people. And I want to be normal. In my 20s, I wanted to be as crazy as possible. I wanted to be schizophrenic because I thought it would make me a great artist. Today, I want to be simple because the roller coaster sucks. After 30 years of ups and downs and broken relationships and jail time and odd jobs and whatever, all that stuff is just crap. You know, it never made me any stronger. It never made me wise. Living the hard life is an illusion. You know, the beer commercials and the cigarette commercials make it look really good. But it's a crappy life. It breaks you down and then you die young. So things are good with my dad, and he's gonna come down here when he's 80 next year. We're gonna go watch some really good blues because that's all he cares about. Some good old blues in Texas. We'll find some good brisket joints and have some good laughs, and Could be the last time I see him. So it's all about making some really good memories. That's what it comes down to, guys. Making some good memories. Not all this other crazy crap. I'll talk to you soon.